any human being who has lived for 62 years will undoubtedly have acquired significant life experiences. Nigeria at 62 is still believed to be a young nation, some people say. However, there are many who believe that Nigeria's strength and comparative advantage lies in her people who are her true wealth. The founding fathers of the nation were deliberate in building several input and contributions to the foundation and growth of the nation. However, some school of thoughts say and believe that the elitist generations who took over are, and shall we also say, not so deliberate in imbibing the ethics and values of the fathers or the founding fathers or mothers, what others refer to as failure of Nigerian elites. Now, what has gone wrong? Where has it gone wrong, and what can we do as a people and do fast? That's the concern today of many. That's the concern today of well-meaning Nigerians, Bridges inclusive. Welcome to Bridges. This special edition of Nigeria at 62 is looking at social responsibility of our people. On Bridges, we have Nigerians who are committed and who believe that indeed we are in a great nation and we should push forward. To my immediate left is Dr. James Komolafe, who is a behavioral expert and of course looking at 62 and we starting from independence will be able to bring his reflections and thoughts to bear with us today. And the ones that in a hurry to build a better Nigeria, they are young and they, full of energy, saying that we shouldn't be where we are today. We should have moved, leapfrogged to more than where we are. I have Engineer Michael Oluwagbemi, who's a development strategist and a public sector analyst. He's going to also be reflecting on the dreams and aspirations of Nigerian Nigerian youths in pushing the national development agenda forward. And later on, we expect that we'll have our sister, Charity Onoja, who will be joining us in this conversation. So let's do a little bit of reflection. Nigeria at 62. I wouldn't want to ask, how old are you now? But I'm sure you really can speak to what you enjoyed growing up as a Nigerian in school, at home, and what we have today. So Dr. Komolafe, we'll start with you.
Well, great. Kudos to Nigeria and Nigerians. Being 62 is by no means a child's play. Well, I grew up in the 60s, so I still met a huge package of relevance as far as nationality is concerned. Well, on a daily basis, life is replete with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we've had all of the odds. We have also some goodies there. So it's not all bad with Nigeria. As a nation, we've been together as one. Wow, a country of political independence with nothing less than about 300 different ethnic groups, from various backgrounds and all of that. So to have even been together as a nation with that political sovereignty, it's a key issue we need to give thanks for, that we're still here. That's not to say we don't have our issues. I knew in those days when we grew up, to even found a teacher, you can go to bed with your two eyes closed, putting any child or any human being with him or her. But our value system has been so much degraded and degenerated to the point that anything goes. We no longer pay attention to issues of patriotism and nationalism. It is now, what is there for me? What can I get at whatever cost? So the huge rat race now is personal and individual ego and survival. This was not what some of us met when we grew up in the late 60s and 70s. So
Right.
things are really going from good to bad and bad to worse. But that's not to say there are no provisions for a reprieve.
Yeah, we would get back to that, but I quickly want to say to you, I mean, we have the background there. I mean, education is fundamental; it's a foundation. And what do you see today? You've had the opportunity of schooling here and schooling abroad. How do you bring this together, looking at Nigeria at 62?
Thank you very much, and happy Independence Day to your audience once again. I think Nigeria has come a long way. I don't think all the news is actually bad. I think we came as a country in 1960. If we take education, for example, we had a literacy rate of 3% in 1960. Today, that literacy rate is close to 60%. We had just one university in 1960. Today we have well over 200 universities. We had less than 10,000 university graduates in 1960. Today we have about 30 million university graduates. Yes, it might be, we might feel that the teachers of the 1960s are British trained, better qualified. But then I remember my own dad used to talk about the fact that when he was in secondary school, half of the subjects that they were being taught, they didn't have teachers for it because they couldn't find them. So they taught themselves. So subjects like mathematics, physics, especially the sciences. You were then even in a mission school. My dad went to an association school in Ekiti, and they just self-taught because they did not find teachers, because there was just not enough teachers in the country of about 50 million people then. We were a country that was basically thrown in a lurch and told to just go and develop quickly. We were a country that 1 in 3 children that were born in 1960 was bound to die at childbirth. Infant mortality was about 3%. Just even 20 years before then, it was 50%. My dad was the first surviving child of 9 children. 8 children were lost by my grandma before my dad survived. The next generation, my dad had 6 children, and all 6 of us buried them. None of us died. That's a quantum leap. Today, Nigeria's infant mortality is still high at 5%. Mm-hmm. Could be better, but it's way lower than 33% we met it. Death rate at independence was about 30%. Today, it's less than 9%. Nigeria was a very rural country in 1960. We're a 3% rural country, 3% urban country, 97% rural. Today, we are 53% urban and 47% rural. So the country has transformed. We had about 500 kilometers of paved roads. Today we have over 40,000 of paved roads in Nigeria. I can go on and on.
Yeah.
On how the country has developed from.
Does that excite you?
It excites me. When I imagine, I visit other African countries. I have the benefit of having founded a business that has offices across Africa. And I see some countries that are still stuck in the 1960s. Even neighboring Cameroon. We got this independence at the same time. Half of the then southern and northern Cameroon was hyped off. The southern Cameroon decided to join Cameroon. Today they're trying to fight to leave, while Adamawa and Taraba decided to join Nigeria. Adamawa and Taraba are quite way well developed than the southern Cameroons that joined the French colony of Cameroon that got into the Independence Republic of Cameroon. So we've made some progress. We're a country that when we even got independence, we're the second largest economy in Africa. Today we're the largest economy in Africa, the richest black nation ever known to mankind. So we can go on and on about the bad, but we should also remember how much progress we've made. Because if we do not know how much progress we've made, then we cannot be confident about being able to build the future.
Yeah, let's talk about progress, because you deal with attitude, you deal with behavior. Yes.
A whole lot. Just like he did say, we've made a quantum leap from what it used to be to what it is now. Now, look at the area of ICT and technology. That's a variable that have brought Nigeria to the global arena. Mm-hmm. You can sit in your house and obtain anything, any certification, any degree. In fact, some of the courses I took that brought me to where I am now, I did it in my bedroom. Mm-hmm. So what a fun.
So we have globalized.
We have globalized.
But there are certain things, certain values that as a people
we traded off.
Yeah, we traded off.
Yes.
Globalization.
Yes.
Can we discuss this?
Yes, we can.
Family values.
Family values, yeah.
Oh, I love
critical.
Yes.
Foundational.
Foundational.
Yes.
Family values. Yes. Let's hear from
Yes, yes.
Doctor. Yes.
Family values have been traded off. These are the days we don't give credence to even our culture and custom, and everything had become westernized. Here you find children calling their dad and mom, hey, hi, you there, and all of that.
So the
These are
basic,
not
the basic
part of our
things
culture.
that distinguish
Cultural
us.
erosion.
Yes, cultural erosion. That's huge. Yes.
Yeah, so I again, is the reason why I said everything I said is to also show that the country has changed. A 3% urban country to now 53% urban. Naturally, what you get as a result of that is social dislocation. It used to be that the villager will know every citizen in his community. He actually used to obtain a tax from them. So you must know what work they are doing in order for you to be able to tax them. You know, a tax that was collected by the regional government in order to fund government back then. But now today, you move into the city, you don't have any villager. You can behave the way you like. You can commit a crime you want to commit. So there's a consequence of urbanization, which has its good part. I've already mentioned the good part. But the bad part of it is that's lack of social cohesion, social dislocation.
And that's what
this is what is also now leading to crime, high crime rates. I mean, I say it. Nigeria is a low crime country. You can go into the list of the database of actual global crime. Nigeria is not in the top 20. We're not in the top 30. We're not in the top 40. The reason why we are shocked is because we still have a generation that lived in Nigeria of 90% rural area. People forget this. When the current president was in office in 1984, the year I was born, the Nigerian society was 90% rural and 10% urban. He's coming back to be president when Nigeria has become 53% urban and 47% rural. The country has changed. So the reality is, we are shocked by the crime statistics, not because the crime statistics is actually large or big relative to other countries in the world. Not at all. I mean, Nigeria is not as violent. I mean, Abuja or Lagos is not as violent as Johannesburg, as New York, as Houston, any major city in America or any major city in Southern Africa. We are way more quiet country, right? But we are shocked by these crime statistics because we still have people who lived and grew up in the rural area, who are now living in urban areas, are like, I can't believe there's crime. So it's the social dislocation and the kind of
social dislocation.
Yes, that is causing all of that.
Yeah, so we said, okay, globalization, westernization, but as a people, when we deliberate in saying, listen, this is our ways, because take for example, I always like to use India. An Indian person with curtsy, the way he goes on, you know, this is Indian. The South Korean or some, yes. Suddenly, you know, are these basic things, foundational things that were lost, globalizing?
I think the egg is rotting from the head, people say. So, and that is where we need a great deal of socio-cultural reorientation. What do we want? Who are we as Nigerians? What is the Nigerian factor in us? And how do we pass it on? Currently now we have a generational gap between what it used to be and what it is now. So we need a critical setup of a leadership culture that will reingrain these ideas back to us and our children, and from there we'll create a paradigm shift. Yes, we've had it rough and tough as the other side of urbanization and globalization, but that is not to say we cannot realign. So our leaders must be pragmatic, frontal, and confrontational on some of these values we have lost, so that we can bring them back.
Yeah, we'll take a break now. When we return, we'll bring a gender lens. Very important.
Thank you, Auntie Moji. Nigeria at 62 is almost 2 decades older than I am. But I want to celebrate a Nigeria that has remained Nigeria, regardless of all the challenges we have experienced in the past. A Nigeria that is rich in culture, a Nigeria that is rich in diversity is one of the high points that I celebrate about being Nigerian and living in Nigeria as well. Going forward, I look towards to a Nigeria that is able to properly harmonize and harness this diversity for a more prosperous nation and that is blazing the global trail. No doubt we have had our challenges, but then we're able to conquer these challenges where we bring all groups, the young and the old, the women and the men, the youth, and everyone on board, and have better citizen engagement, have the priorities of all our youth being brought to fore in governance, ensuring that the concerns of the women are brought to fore in governance. We have, at a time like this, we have the elections coming up. I hope that whatever the concerns of Nigerians are will be able to be translated to who we select as our leader in the coming years. One area that the first point of socialization or for national development is the family. The family is the unit of every form of development. Unfortunately, our families are losing their values because society no longer rewards morals. They reward proceeds and not process. So I look forward to a Nigeria that rewards merit, rewards process, a Nigeria that is intolerant of the culture of gratification, but looks at the process in which gains are made. We now have a Nigeria where we cannot explain the wealth of some certain personalities. That should not be so. We look forward to a Nigeria that rewards good attitude, that rewards good training, that rewards good grades in school, that rewards the fact that someone is from a good family. A Nigeria that engages women more, having them as the unit of society, that has them as the burden bearers of the families. It's a society that looks at the grassroots as where we can have the best citizens coming from. No one should be left out. In a Nigeria that carries everyone along, a Nigeria that engages citizens positively towards a greater nation. That is the Nigeria of my dreams, and I'm looking forward to us getting there in my lifetime.
Moving forward and sharing from his experience, how does this dovetail into your thoughts?
Yes, I always am of the opinion that leadership is very important to direct any society from where it is to where it could be. That's what they call transformational leadership. But bad leadership by itself is actually a symptom, because your leaders will not come from heaven, they will come from among you. So what do you do if the leaders are going to emerge from a rotten pool and they rise up to the top? Then the answer then becomes, you have to look at what is the prerequisite for great leadership. The prerequisite for great leadership, interestingly, is elite engagement. You need some level of elite consensus, because elites constitute 1% of every society. It is easier for 1% to reach some kind of alignment, some kind of agreement among themselves than it is for the 99%. So every society, when they do agree and say this is the kind of political structure we're going to achieve, we are going to use, those people making that decision is not the common man, it's the 1% of the elite. So what we've had in Nigeria in the last 60 years, in fact, the direct result of our rapid urbanization and this social dislocation, the lack of social cohesion I'm talking about, is elite disengagement. How many of our elites have gone back to the primary healthcare center that they were born in the 1960s and in the 1950s and in the 1940s and going to see the state of those community health centers that have been abandoned in our communities? How many of them have gone back to their alma mater, their primary school in a village? Remember, I told you that we're a country of 97% rural area. So almost all the elites that we have in Nigeria today went to school in the village. Almost all of them. At least, based on that statistic, 9.7 out of 10 will have gone to a village school. How many of them have gone to that village school back to see the falling and dilapidated structure and decide to re-engage to ensure that those structures can be brought back to the standard that allow them to become an elite? So the main problem we have in Nigeria right now is elite disengagement. And when our elites...
Well, I would rather put it in this shape. Elite re-engagement.
Okay,
so that you take off the old and inject the new.
So bringing in what is
because
up
you still need them.
Yeah,
Sure.
because those, some of those buildings that you rightly referred to need more than renovation.
No,
they need to be upscaled.
Upscaled
To meet the
and-
globalization that we are talking about within the context
Of course.
of not losing sight of being Nigerian.
Nigerians.
Now, so let's look at hope, because our time
Yes.
is fast gone.
The
Yes.
hope is that institutions that are like National Institution of National Orientation Agency, for example, has a great deal of work to do. Brother and friend in culture, Chivoru Sewe Olusegun, has a great work to do. That culture must begin to simulate into what our critical values have been, so that we can begin that reorientation from cradle.
Do you believe that? Do you think that we should go back to that, bringing our culture?
And marry it with what of
Marry
now.
to what we have.
I think it's a good starting point. I think we want to have a reemergence, a renaissance of the national spirit. And the good thing is that increasingly Nigeria is becoming more Nigerian. What do I mean by that? In both the good and bad ways, by the way. But I'll talk about the good. If you go across the world today, if you go into an airport or you go into listen to a radio station, anywhere in the world, across the world, if they play 5 music, 3 will be Nigerian. If you watch, in fact, when I go into countries these days, when I say I'm Nigerian, the first thing they ask me is about our movie stars. They ask me about our technology giants, our businesses. They ask me about the fashion of Nigeria. So Nigeria is beginning to have what I call mindshare, much higher than any other country. In fact, Hollywood will be threatened by Nigeria and Hollywood in no time soon. So we have a kind of viral, strong, proud culture that both the diaspora and those at home have adopted, and even the rest of the world is beginning to adopt. So we have an opportunity there. The hope of Nigeria is these young people. Again, we're 75% young population. 75% of our population is lower than the age of 35. And they don't necessarily believe in the old paradigm, this ethnic group, that ethnic. I have 6 nephews and nieces. None of them is born to an in-law that is from the same ethnic group as I am. So I have no in-law from the ethnic group I actually come from. So the Nigeria is becoming more Nigerian. So it's very easy for us to preach the Nigerian spirit going forward, because that is one key thing.
Preach you have
absolutely. How do you create that?
Harmony in diversity.
Yeah.
Harmony in diversity. This really is, it's hope rising, and we must be deliberate about that, because it's the only link.
To be the key.
It's key is the link that we have, and of course the youths who are the hope for our new social reorientation. I wish this conversation would continue, but I think what we brought forward today is hope, which is rich.
There is hope, and if I must say this, behavioral alignment.
Right. You speak to Renaissance.
National renaissance of the national spirit.
Okay, national spirit.
Behavioral alignment across board is critical.
It's critical
for a new orientation.
For a new orientation. But I think what is more important is our resolve to say, this is my Nigeria, and together we're going to build a better Nigeria. So at 62, that should be our resolve. That should be our hope, especially that we have all these statistics that we've heard of the new Nigeria that should emerge, and you should be part of it. And that's the bridge we've been able to build today. I hope that you're going to be part of that new bridge, who is able and deliberate and would want a better Nigeria. There are opportunities, but you only have to put in an effort. Thanks for watching. Bridges will be back same time next week, and enjoy the rest of the day.